commit resources to dealing with my tool, and also I was making an extra mountain here. So I think that actually, I haven't seen it work yet, but I think the red elemental should be explored more in a more focused way. You can't just throw it in any deck.
But again, that's a fake topic.
I think Aurora's trick is, the water elemental is a very nice target for Aurora's trick because it gets the protection shield. But I don't like to play the water elemental too much myself. But I haven't tried out too much. Maybe
Aurora's trick is a combo card. Yeah. Most of the times, but it's also a very versatile card because if you can also get it out to you can also play it on their Defender of the Homeland or their Taunters, because some Taunters have pretty weak attack.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it's great against Vicious.
Yeah.
Hey, you have that Bloodsinger? Well, now it's mine.
Yeah.
Hey, you're playing that Grimoire? Now it's mine.
Yeah, it's really got a lot of game to it. I think that the card, I've always liked this sort of punishing situation, which I like putting these cards in the meta, because one of the important things to creating a balanced meta that will work is there's no way that even with these amazing testers like Sho7gun and the whole other, group, our merry band of men and women who are balance testing, we cannot hope to outdo the thousands upon thousands of players who are going to work really hard together to break this game. So one of the things we do is we don't really try to do that. We try to create a system where the decks are small enough, if you want to play optimally, that you can't put everything in the same deck, and that there are answers to every threat, that every threat has a good answer or is low impact enough that you don't have to worry about it to this massive degree. So Aurora's trick is one of these types of answers that I feel is really good, that if situations happen where players are getting these really, really powerful low 2 power or less creatures, mono blue might very well be an answer to that meta.
Yeah. You also talked a lot about how frustrating it is to have a minion stolen from you that hurts more than having it killed, but it's also so much more fun to steal the creature than to kill it.
And that's why we kept it in rather than just taking it out and putting something else in. Like, I do believe that having your creature stolen is a loss of what I call net fun. That, like, it's as fun as it is for you, it's even less fun for them. But on the other hand, it's still really fun for you. So the thing is, hey, look, if you want to have that fun, that's okay, but you've got to play mono blue, and you've got to let them have their fun for a few turns before you ruin it all.
Yep. All right. We'll have to speed this up a little bit. I'll move on to the next color, which is red. And first.
Oh, I just saw you flickering a lot of Ninja Toads. I thought that was
well, of course I do. That's my homeboys. So the first red card I want to talk about is Derelict Tower. It's a structure that you can activate it to deal 1 damage to the structure, and then you deal 1 damage to anything else on the board. So you can. It's a Falcon dive.
It's basically a free Falcon dive in one, but you
cannot use it at the same time you play
exactly, and there lies in the problem with Derelict Tower.
Yeah, I think the card would be very strong if you could play it, activate it. It would be stupid.
Then it would be ridiculous, but that would be with all the towers.
Yeah, but
it costs 2 Faeria, right?
Yeah, and it requires 2 mountains. And it's I have never seen anyone play it. I don't think
it's bugged right now. That's why. Like, well, it was bugged. I hope that it's fixed. But like, it was amazing bug. It had this thing where if it killed a minion, it would never activate again. It was like too traumatized or something. It's like it's seen too much violence. But the thing is, I feel like this card has to be good. Like, there's just so many board states that are hard to come back with. And sure, it takes an extra turn to set up. Okay, but it's only 2 Faeria, and 2 is so much less than 3. Like, you can save up 2 Faeria very easily over a few turns. 3 just spends a whole turn's worth of income. So I feel like that if you can establish one of these, and even again, these get better in multiples. If you can establish 2 of these in like an Ignis, you're dealing 3 damage to something every turn. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is actually pretty sick.
Yeah, but I think that the reason why people don't generally run Derelict Towers is because they like their removal to be instant. Yeah. They want to play it in the moment, so the other player doesn't expect it. The thing with Derelict Tower, what it basically says is, okay, I can remove anything, I can deal 1 damage to anything next turn.
Exactly. So
and it's there. You know that it's there.
But I think that it's partly that people play them. People don't want to play them proactively. That if you what you should be doing most of the time in this game, you want to play a structure and then get value immediately. But the thing is, you should be doing it, or you want the structure to always be good forever. So people are okay with something like something of Altar of Shadows' power, Soul Altar's power, that you can actually do this, and they'll generate. Okay, it doesn't generate me value this turn, but it'll generate value next turn. I just need to keep it alive for 1 turn. Derelict Tower feels situational, but the thing is, people got to realize that 2 Faeria is such a low investment that and it gets better in multiples to such a degree that I think that just developing this card while you're doing other stuff, as long as you're not under immediate pressure, can give you such an extra bullet in your gun, and suddenly all your flame bursts deal an extra damage effectively, or can kill an extra thing. Falcon dives are hit harder. Your 4 damage spells hit harder. Your 3 damage spells hit harder. Red is very often off by 1 damage on some important threat. And so being able to stack up this way just really extends your reach. I haven't used it myself yet, but I just think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, the more you talk about it now, the more I want to try
it out. The same. The more you think about it, you're like, why aren't people running this?
Well, because it's
because the bug, but even without the bug, you never saw it. We know, at least on the test surface, we never saw it. So
yeah. We've never seen it used much at all. I think it's a mistake. I think this is a card. Well, the thing is, don't forget, the card in the test servers was different for a while. So it got changed, and it didn't look that good. And I think we were doing Pandora at the time. And also, don't forget, the threats were different.
Yeah,
we were dealing with much bigger high life stuff, and Red was fighting to survive with things like Bomb Slinger, because it just needed to deal these massive amounts of damage. I think that, but really, there's no excuse once people started running the freaking King's Faithful. Like, we needed that 1 damage so much.
Another reason I think it might be not used as much is because, again, of the rushy meta. And it's not that great in the rushy meta because generally, where do you put this tower? They can attack it. They can hit it. That's just too.
But who the hell?
But then again, it's like
it also
saves orb damage. So yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it has taunt. I mean, that's great. If they attack it instead of you, I mean, we're paying so much for for taunts against Rush, because you will win if you get longer stuff. It effectively actually has a taunt effect on it, and if they're trying to attack it, if they're actually worried about it, then that's great, provided you can actually deal with it in other ways. So I think it's worth it. I feel like it's such a low Faeria investment that's continually the thing. It's a low impact card. It is definitely a low impact card, but I have such respect for these cards that you can't have trouble losing value on. And there's so many ways it can actually turn into really good. That it kills a harvester, turns off a huge income of their Faeria. It can take off 1 life off of a structure that, say, like Gabrian Cistern, that takes off 3 Faeria. It can extend your burn. I feel like it's a very useful tool. I doubt we'll ever be saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to lose the game because of Derelict Towers," but I think it is going to be a useful role player in the right sort of deck.
You could use it to also activate that yellow card that says if you dealt damage to the opponent's orb, you can draw a card and gain Faeria and stuff. If you don't have any other way to activate that card. Right? Because you can target the opponent's orb with the Derelict Tower as well.
Yeah. It is a versatile and very useful tool. And I think it. Talking about this, I might actually start running these.
I'm already thinking about my new deck.
Well, you can try it with the Possessed Ursus combo, which is
oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I want to do a whole thing on Possessed Ursus now. I feel like that in there's a Feed the Forest deck that there were enough combos with Possessed Ursus to make it a option that you don't rely on. But we should probably stay on removal.
Yeah. Anyway, Cypher's Wrath.
Yeah, let's move on because
it's vicious control and it's great. Let's move on. Flameburst. It's a great card.
Are you playing red? Pick all of these cards. Okay, moving on to the next color.
The initial playtest name for Cypher's Wrath was Insult to Injury, or Injury to Insult. That was one of the two. Yeah. I forget which one I named it. It feels so good. You kill a thing and then you deal extra damage to them. There's this thing we talk about in game design called impact, that you want something to feel like it has impact. And like you want there to be a knockback on your attacks or a flash on the enemy if you're using an action game. And one of the things is that cards that classically don't work very well are stuff like if it was just an event that said your opponent cannot play events next turn, just an event, because they won't do it. They won't play an event next turn, but you don't know if they wanted to. So you didn't really see the impact of your card.
But I think
it works better on a creature like that has a gift because you saw that your creature showed up. So the thing is, Cypher's Wrath has added impact. You kill something, you look for the target, and then you see added impact on their orb. So it just really feels good.
But that also makes Cypher's Wrath a very useful thing, not just against 2 health minions, but also against 1 health minions. Because maybe you only dealt 1 damage for 2 Faeria, but you also still deal that 2 damage to the orb, and that's generally a 2 Faeria thing.
Yeah. And even if you use it on something that doesn't, even if you deal, never mind.
Even if you don't deal lethal damage with Cypher's Wrath, you still dealt 2 damage.
Yeah, which is
2 Falcon Dives.
Yeah.
And one of the
we already know how good Falcon Dive is. So,
and it's really worth noting that this type. Well, again, Falcon Dive is really good because it's 1 Faeria for 1 damage. So it has a really high upside. So it's not quite comparable, but it's the sort of thing that's going on so much. Now, Cypher's Wrath really 2 damage is not that much. We talked about that with Punishment, but it goes well with any of Red's 3 damage effects. So you Flameburst something, you Cypher's Wrath it, you dealt 5 damage for 5 Faeria, and that kills a lot of stuff. It also can take off. It can take off Harvesters with Firebomb. It deals 6 damage. You can just get a lot of value with this card. And also, it's one of the reasons that people don't respect certain cards as much as they should, like Darkstalker, because everyone's like, "What if they Cypher's Wrath it?" And it's like they're gonna Cypher's Wrath something, buddy.
Yep.
All right. Let's agree that Cypher's Wrath is a very strong card. And let's move on to Flameburst, which is
another really strong card.
Yeah, but it has such a cool effect also. For those of you who don't know, it's a 3-cost card, but you can choose to pay 3 additional to make it an AoE spell.
It's the only card that still has a Splendor effect.
The only card that still has the what?
The Splendor effect. I can let Dan explain it.
Sure. Really
if
quickly,
Dan explains it, it takes too long. Why don't
it does, but I'll do this one fast. So
he talks fast.
Yeah,
that's true.
So the really long story short is there used to be an ability that I designed, and at the same time that the rest of the team also designed it. We were both trying to solve this problem with original Faeria gold economy that you could get locked out of Faeria. So we started trying to do something where you put most of the Faeria uses as sort of this extra resource that would buff all your stuff, that you could play the card and get extra value if you chose to spend Faeria in addition to gold. So that way you couldn't get locked out of your cards, but it was a supplemental resource. And then we moved to all Faeria economy, and then it was a way to make sure that you could have low-cost cards in your deck in case you didn't have much Faeria, and high-cost, but use them if you had extra. Then we added a +1 Faeria button, and we added the +1 card button, and suddenly it wasn't useful anymore. So the long story of it was that I made this massive article about how great Splendor is as a mechanic, how fun it is, how cool it is, how useful it is, and it ended up being completely superfluous to the core mechanics of the game. Like, you can find this article about me talking about how this is the best mechanic ever, and we cut it. And like very recently, but when I suggested that we cut it actually too, I wanted to kill my baby. And the big argument for keeping it was that Flameburst was too fun, and that was the best design of Splendor. So we ended up just writing it on the card. So we used to say basically Splendor also deal this extra damage. Now we write out the ability of Splendor in the card text.
Yeah. I absolutely love this card. It has
by the way, Greeny Gin, if you want to hear the full discussion, I would recommend watching the VOD later, because we explained why Derelict Tower might actually be a very, very good card.
Might again, role player. Not it would not be like necessarily the best thing ever. It's not going to win you games by itself, probably.
We'll show people. We'll win games with it. What are you talking
Anyways,
about?
but yeah, Flame Burst, great card. I mean, it's very versatile. You can use it to remove creatures. You can use it to deal free damage to the orb, which is very significant. Or you can even pay 6 to basically do a AOE board wipe.
It's very important to have this card be high power because it lets people think about positioning a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is something
that's one of the most things
that I like about Faeria, that position is so important.
Flame Burst forces your opponent to split his creatures, which is